Okay, welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a quiz on Canvas. Canvas has this huge quiz taking capability, and you can manage your questions and your question banks and your student scores, and there's lots of functionality. I'm going to show you the basics so you can get started making your first quiz. Now, here I am on my module page. I've got two modules, Module 1, Module 2. Of course, you may have more chapters or modules or content than this. You just pick which content it belongs in, which module. I'm going to put mine in Unit 2, and anytime you want to add anything to a module, you hit your plus button on that module. It always defaults to thinking you want to create an assignment. This time I'm going to switch over to quiz. I need to set this drop down to quiz. Hopefully you're making your quiz right now while you're watching, so you can pause and have a step-by-step guide. So if you need to pause me and go start your quiz, go for it. I want to make a quiz. I want it to be a brand new quiz, and I need to give it a name. Once you've got quiz, new quiz, name, hit your add item button, and it'll show up here. Now I think the really strange thing is once it shows up, it doesn't have anything in it. It's totally blank. So you have to, it's in the unit I wanted, but now I'm going to click on it. Once I get to this point, I want to hit edit so I can change it. This page is a little interesting because you have these two tabs right here. This Details tab helps you change all the settings about how it's graded and what kids can do and how they accept it and blah blah blah. This next tab here is where you actually make your questions, and we'll make those later. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to set up all my details about the quiz and the settings of it, then we'll go actually make the quiz. Right here in this big box, this is where you type your directions. Your directions could be as complicated as you want. They could have an image, they could have a link to a URL. You could actually throw a video in if you just have the URL from YouTube. If you go to YouTube and copy the link, you could put a video right there. Or you could just say something simple, like answer these questions. I always like it to be a graded quiz. I'm going to run through kind of the basics. Your assignment group probably doesn't matter to you too much. There's no option to shuffle the questions. Everybody's question one will be the same question, but you can shuffle the multiple choice answers around. So there's an option to shuffle the answers. You probably want that. You can say they have to be done in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. If you leave this unchecked, they have all day, and they can do it whenever. The only thing about this time limit is if I have not pressed submit when the time limit is up, I get a 0. So if you had answered most of the questions but didn't hit submit, you're going to get a 0 when the time ticks and you've run to 0. So be really careful with that, or at least let kids know that, because that can be a little intense. Depending on how you want to use this quiz, if it's a test or something very serious, you might only want them to have one attempt, and so you leave this alone. If it's more formative and it might be their bell ringer or their exit slip or something, you can let them try it as many times as they want. So maybe next week you make them go try it again, and that's real great if you have some kind of intervention day, or just you want to use it as a study guide or anything like that. You could just leave it out there and say, okay, what you need to do this weekend is retake your quiz and get 100, or retake it and see if you can improve your grade. You can also say that what grade is important to the teacher, the highest grade, the newest grade, the average of all their grades. And you can even, if you want to, limit how many times they can take it. Without that checked, they can take as many times as they want. Now, again, this all depends on how you're going to use this. If it's a super serious grade, you might not want them to ever even be able to see their responses. Like, you just take them, and it's graded, and it's all done. If it's more formative and you want them to use it almost as a learning tool or a study guide, I would say let them use let them see their quiz responses. So they'll see their answers, they'll see which ones were wrong, but with this marked and just this, they won't see their actual correct answers. They'll just see what they got wrong, but not what the right answer was. If you want to, you could let them see the right answers too. I tend to use this, where they can see what they got wrong, but if they want to try it again, then they don't know what the right answer was, but they could go try it again. So I feel like that, if you're using it as a formative or as a learning tool, I feel like that's a really good setting, because they can try again without having all the answers right in front of them. With this unchecked, they see all the questions on one big page and have to scroll down. I like to maybe do it one at a time. So they see question 1 and hit next to move to question 2. So I like to turn this on. If you want them to be forced to answer them in order, you could lock their questions after answering. With this turned on, once they've done question 2, they can't go back to it. If you turn this off, they could hop around through the questions all day until they hit submit. So I could finish question 5 and go back to question 2 and change my answer. With this, once you've done question 2, it's done. And so if you have some cheaters or some cheating concerns, you might lock them down in that way. I don't ever use these settings. The important thing is here, you probably want everybody to take it. You don't even have to do a due date if you don't want to, but you could. Right here, if you want the quiz to disappear off of the site so they cannot get to it, you could say what time, what day and what time should it disappear, and that would be what that does. Now, those